Now, we'll go out to South Bend, Indiana. What's the intel we're hearing at a Notre Dame spring practice? Still getting rolling. Everyone's wondering who's going to play quarterback for them, right? Is it C.J. Carr? Is it Kenny Minchey? Is it Steve Angeli? Sounds like Steve Angeli is approaching this thing like it's his job. And everyone in a quarterback battle should be approaching it like it's their job. But the buzz at a spring camp is like, no. Steve Angeli believes this is his job to lose. I think there's probably a sense among some Notre Dame fans that's the feeling as well. And when I say he's approaching it like it's his job, this is a guy that's waited his turn now. This is a dude that's been around the block. This is a guy that, coming out of last year's bowl game, I think a lot of Notre Dame fans thought he was going to be your starting quarterback in 2024. Obviously, you go get Riley Leonard, and that changes the entire conversation around what he was going to be in 2024. But like, you hear what I'm saying? He's a guy that's waited his turn, and I don't think he's going to be someone that just lets this opportunity slip through his fingers. Now, while that's the case for Steve Angeli on the experience side, the ceiling for a C.J. Carr, full transparency, is probably higher. Kenny Minchey is the most athletic of the group, and if you watched Notre Dame's offense last year, how much they did in the quarterback design run game, I think that probably still has to be a factor some way, somehow, even if Kenny Minchey doesn't win the job. But the discussion you have to have if you're Notre Dame internally is, okay, we got this young buck in C.J. Carr, who might be ultimately a guy who gives us a higher ceiling, but where is he right now? Because ceilings are great. I love talking about the higher ceiling, but if I don't have you at a point where you can actually help us go win the football games we need to win early on in the season, then I don't really care how good you can eventually be. How good are you right now? It's a what are you doing from right now kind of business. So I think Steve Angeli is still probably going to be the guy. I think he will have to earn it. I think it'll go into fall camp. But so far, Steve Angeli, the one who's leading guys to and from stations during drills and practice. He's kind of the vocal leader, it sounds like, of sorts. And all signs, as of right now, point to him being your guy for Notre Dame football. But we got a long way to go in the spring. Now, the wide receiver room is really interesting when you talk about Notre Dame. I've said a couple of times, I think that room has more juice than I think is given credit for nationally in the college football public space. We saw Jaden Greathouse pop last year against the two best defenses Notre Dame played, went for over 100 yards against both Penn State and Ohio State. You saw Jordan Faison on what he can do. People, I don't think, are aware of what they went and got via the portal and two proven commodities in Malachi Fields from Virginia and a Will Pauling. Now, Malachi Fields is not yet on campus, but he is going to be a dude, I think, when he gets rolling. Will Pauling from Wisconsin is a guy that was hand-plucked by Mike Brown, the current wide receiver coach at Notre Dame. So if a coach is going to get in a player from a school he was at, should tell you everything you need to know about what he thinks of Will Pauling. These are guys that have both played a lot of college football. Guys, with proven production. And this is not to dunk on the most recent portal class that Notre Dame got at the wide receiver position the year before. I just feel like you have a lot of a less mystery around both of those cats. So you feel good about that wide receiver room. Probably still need some young bucks to step up a little bit if you're talking about what Notre Dame needs to be offensively. But I really believe that if Steve Angeli is your guy or C.J. Carr is your guy, I think there'll be a lot more of a vertical passing game, and the receiver room, I think, will ultimately equip you to do that, should everyone continue to take the next steps. Now, defensively, it's under new management, all right? Al Golden, no longer your DC. Welcome into the fold, Chris Ash. Now, Chris Ash is, from what I can gather, taking the approach, and I think he said almost as much in different words, hey, I just got to not screw this thing up. We got a lot of talent. As long as I don't drive this thing off a cliff, we should be in really good shape. And that's kind of the feel, I think, across the building as well. They're in a spot where they've recruited that side of the football so well, they really should be able to pick up where they left off last season. Now, you do lose some leadership, right? You lose a Ben Morrison, you lose an Xavier Watts, a Jack Kaiser, all that is true. But they feel real good about what they have in-house. Leonard Moore is a guy who switched to the single digit, all right? So we appreciate that. Anytime you're a lockdown corner, rocking the single digit probably lends itself to a little more swag. We're here for that. I mean, he's been as advertised throughout spring practice, making some plays. I mean, the way that he's able to move is, just NFL-like. I want to talk about some of the young bucks, though, that might get some burn for Notre Dame this upcoming season. Two freshmen I want to highlight. One, safety Jaden Blair. Second, linebacker Madden Faremo. Let's start with Blair. We saw him in Nashville for the Elite Series, and we also saw him when he early enrolled at Notre Dame. He was with the team during the national title media days and on the field and all that before the game. Dude's big, man. Just overall size. That's a cat now who When you see him in person, you're like, that's a safety? Looks like he's about to bulk up and play edge. Like, he's got that kind of build to him, and there's a belief that he will have the opportunity to battle for some playing time early. And then Madden Faramo is a linebacker that played in the Trinity League out of Southern California. Am I biased because I played in that league? Absolutely. I think it's one of the best high school leagues in all of America. The bottom line here is he's going to be a guy that if they end up playing 5 linebackers like they did in previous seasons, Madden Faramo will get some time as a true freshman. Okay, so all that to say, defensively, yeah, you lose some guys, but there's no dipping when it comes to the standard at Notre Dame, and there's no dipping in terms of what they're able to accomplish on that side of the football, even with what they lost at a coordinator level and a personnel level. Now, I'm always curious whenever we talk to folks around spring practice what the vibes are. And vibes and feel is maybe something that gets blown out of proportion, but it's that time of year, so we're going to go ahead and lean into that. The feeling in the building is last year was nice. Last year was good. We were so close, there's no reason we can't run it back. We've proven to ourselves, and that's, I think, the most important thing. Anytime you prove to yourself what you're capable of, it doesn't matter what the outside opinion is. Because the outside opinion is going to have takes on, well, Marcus Freeman, and they still lost to NIU, and they kind of caught fire, good for them, but the schedule, Riley Leonard, all this, all that, like, there's a lot of outside noise. Inside that building, though, they think they're in a spot where they can run it right back, be a playoff team, be a national title contender team, and go finish the drill. Marcus Freeman, he delivered last year. A lot of conversation around South Bend of year 3 this, year 3 that. Year 3, they made the national title game. So I don't think there's any question around the coach that Marcus Freeman is. The question now is, can you take that next step? And the blessing and the pressure is, the next step is, can you go win that final game of the season, which will this year be in Miami, a place that Notre Dame won a semifinal game a season ago. So all that's to say, very early on, vibes are good. Quarterback, something to watch. Receiver room should provide some juice while you need some guys to step up for depth purposes. I feel good about that room. And then defensively, I mean, same song, second verse, different DC. Go finish the drill, I think is the vibe right now in South Bend, Indiana.